everyone, I'm Ainsley Buck, and today I'll be talking to you all about attention's role in early childhood anxiety. So I want to start by introducing our attention networks. So we have the dorsal attention network, which helps control our goal-driven attention, and then the ventral attention network, which drives our stimulus-driven attention and is what we'll be focusing on here today. So in anxiety, both children and adults demonstrate attentional differences. The first of these differences is threat bias, in which people with anxiety more readily identify threat in their environment. The second of these is negative perception of neutral stimuli, in which people with anxiety interpret stimuli as more innocuous than they really are. And we're wondering, because these are both driven by stimuli in the environment, is this due to our ventral attention network, which controls how our attention is modulated to external stimuli? So with that, the aim of this study was to investigate the relationship between the ventral attention network and experience of non-clinical anxiety in early childhood to see if these patterns still hold true in children whose anxiety does not yet meet a clinical threshold and require a diagnosis. To do this, the first half of our methodology focused on neuroimaging and specifically functional magnetic resonance imaging scans. This allowed us to measure brain activity and especially look at connectivity or communication between specified regions within the ventral attention network, or the VAN. The three regions we looked at had functions in attentional orienting, executive control, and spatial perception. We also collected behavioral data via the preschool anxiety scale, which is a caregiver report scale on current expression of anxiety-related behaviors such as fear of heights or constant worrying. In analyzing the correlations between these, we found that our spatial perception and executive control region connectivity was inversely correlated with expression of anxiety-related behaviors. So the more that these two regions were communicating with each other, the less anxiety-related behaviors children were expressing. We also found that attentional orienting and spatial perception region connectivity was positively correlated with anxiety-related behaviors. So the more that these regions on the right were connected to each other, the more anxiety-related behaviors we saw. And importantly, these were both statistically significant. Now, this has some clinical implications. So first, we want to think about the fact that this says that communication between ventral attention network regions is related to experience of anxiety, even when it does not yet require a clinical diagnosis. This also provides a potential treatment innovation. So if we can change this communication, we might be able to decrease experience of anxiety in childhood. So how would we do this? It might look a little something like this. So attention bias modification is a technique that's currently being employed and helps people allocate their attention differently. So if we did attention bias modification for kids, an example might look like this screen on the right, where people or children were asked to find the happy face and therefore allocate their attention away from threat in the environment, which in this case might be the three other faces. In terms of policy recommendations, we're urging funding for continued research, treatment development, and trials of treatment for this so that we can continue to buffer against early childhood anxiety. And second, we're recommending education initiatives for caregivers, child care providers, and teachers so that they can better spot the signs of childhood anxiety so that we can intervene as early as possible. Thank you so much for listening today.